Hey, how's everybody doing? Um, I think most of the ones now, until I can survive on Torment 4, I can't get anything else done. I can't get this one until I actually get it to start dropping rift keys again. Over the weekend, I took my other character in and did an actual regular rift. Because I've gone in and taken out like about 10 of these rift guardian the rift key guardians, and I get the key to get checked off, and I'm not getting any keys at all. So I don't know. Okay, I need to go to 5. Okay, just a quick shout out. Please reach out to all your elected officials, local, county, state, and the ones in Washington. Everyone, anybody you vote for, reach out and ask them to legalize assisted suicide. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Keep watching. About once a week, I'll go into a little bit more of a deep dive. Just a cliff notes on it. I was taking care of my mom. I was the main one doing it. I was sleeping by her bed. I had family that came out and was nice enough to, as far as I know, were nice enough to watch her when I had to go mow the lawn or sleep. They were nice enough to come out, and again, if I needed more, I'm sure they would have maybe been there. There's some shit that's happened since she died. I really don't know if I can say that with a straight face anymore, but that was the impression I had back then, and I'm just going to go with it. And then the other thing is, reach out to your federal elected officials, maybe the president. Maybe shoot an email to cabinet secretaries. Definitely write to your legislators in the House and Senate, and ask them to support Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And I don't know if she's oversight or intel, but she's a committee chairwoman. Senator Kristen Gillibrand and Mark Rubio, I think, is on board with this. So you got bipartisan support in both houses on this. My understanding from listening to an Australian reporter that covers this, and he's got contacts in Washington, and he even did one thing where he went somewhere and there were a lot of military. Now, this might have been Australia, not American, but he went somewhere where they had a fair amount of military people, and I think they were Australian military. Well, there's a lot of them that are not in the loop on UFOs, but they've seen what they've seen, and when he was there, they were coming up to him and asking him, like, well, what do you know about this? And he goes, well, you guys are military. I thought you did. And they said, no, they go, and they admitted, they go, we feel like we've been, this is my interpretation, I'm not quoting them word for word, but the gist of what I got from watching that interview with them was he said that they felt like they were being kept out of the loop. And and I'm sure it's a little bit that way, because my understanding is there were members of our military that reached out, like when they got into Congress, they reached out to select people in the military. They're like, hey, I'm hearing about this. What can you tell me? And they basically said, I can't tell you anything, and don't ever ask me about this shit again. That happened to Senator Barry Goldwater. I don't know if he was military or not. But that happened to him. This was a guy that he thought he was good friends with. And, you know, this would have been back in the 60s, not recent times. But he was hearing stuff. And he reached out to them, you know, his friend, and he's like, hey, what can you tell me about this? Can I get in there and see? And the guy, I guess, got really fucking mad. He said, no, you can't. Don't ever talk to me again about this. And the thing I wonder is, if we get to the bottom of this, if they ever do get to the bottom of this, are we going to find out that people in the military were fucking setting up elections? So that people that they feared were going to be, you know, maybe not the people who should have won the election, but making sure people who weren't very fucking bright and weren't going to ask too many questions didn't get elected. Because, you know, there was talk, like when Carter was president, I heard about this. I wasn't that political back then, but back when Carter was in office, he was trying to rescue some hostages out of the Middle East. And every time they got close to a plan, somebody connected to military, I believe, would leak the information so that the enemy would see us coming. And I think there was at least circumstantial evidence that the military was behind this, and they did it so a fucking Hollywood actor with, you know, they found out, now maybe they knew, I don't know, but we found out later that he was coming down with dementia. Dementia or Alzheimer's, one of those two. You take a look at Reagan. This is a guy that was a lifelong Democrat, and his mind started to fail. He became a Republican. And the comment he made then is, I didn't leave my party left him. No, his fucking common sense left him. And as he got sicker, he became more and more Republican. And then finally he ran as a Republican governor and a Republican president. And, but you know, because my understanding is Carter and Reagan both were. But Reagan was, you know, again, because of the Alzheimer's and dementia, he was probably a little more willing to listen to the government. But Jimmy Carter, when he got in there, he reached out to the CIA director. From what I hear, the story, I don't know if people lied to me, then I'm lying to you, but I'm not doing it on purpose. But he reached out to the CIA director and he said, "Hey, I need everything you got on UFOs." And the story is that George H.W. Bush, future president, he basically said, "Sir, I'm not going to give you that because while you may be president, you don't have a need to know." And, you know, to me, and this thing, I don't know if it's true or not, but to me, if it's true, they should, he should have fired him on the spot. He should have went public and said, "Hey, I asked for information. He wouldn't give it to me. He didn't tell me that there was no information. He said I didn't have a need to know." So he's fired. So I'm going to appoint an acting one for now, and I'm going to put up a nomination for Congress to vet. And then the acting one, he should have been like, "Okay, now I need this. Get it for me. If not, you're going to be fucking fired too. You people are going to understand I'm the president. You work for me, and you're either going to do your fucking job or you're going to be unemployed." And he didn't do it. Failure of the Democrats. Say what you want. I mean, I consider myself a Democrat. I at least consider myself more of a progressive on the left. But I'm sorry. You know, you got some of these Democrats that now are like, "Oh, well, we've been supporting workers." Nah. I'm not sure, other than like Bernie Sanders and a few others, I'm not sure you can really say that Democrats have been supporting workers since like FDR and Truman left office. Because there's no indication that they do. They support them as much as I think they can without pissing off the rich people. I firmly believe that. And maybe that's all they could get. You know, I'm not trying. You know, maybe that's all they could get, and you know, or that's all they thought they could get. Because Nancy Pelosi, who's way smarter on this than I am, when Obama was in office, they never even fought for universal health care. They settled. And it's like, well, why didn't you fight for it? Because this is the thing, when Hillary Clinton was in there as First Lady, she was fighting for universal health care. And what they ended up passing under Obama, the Affordable Care Act, that was basically the Republican alternative to universal health care. And if they would have fought like Nancy did, make the Republicans dust it off, then they could have passed it with some Republican support, and they wouldn't have been able to try and hang it around the Democrats' neck up until today, like they have. But I could be wrong. Like I said, Nancy's like way fucking smarter on that shit than I'll ever be, let alone how I am, than I'll ever be. Even if I was still healthy, she's like way fucking smarter than I am on this shit. But, but yeah, tell them to get going on it, because according to that one guy, if we don't get this passed this year, it might not happen for a while. And you know, before I die, I would really like to get to the bottom. Ooh, do we have a key? Nope, no key. Yeah, I'm watching this thing on Templars. If I can keep my shit together, and if I actually have a stream today, I'll try and talk about the Knights Templar on my Minecraft stream. But my brother was watching something on TV, and I checked. I was gonna watch it, and well, I am watching it. But when I got to it, it was like partway through the second episode, and when I looked at the guide for it, it basically said episode 2 of 2
this
or
cannot
something
be
like
opened
that.
yet.
And I'm like, well, shit, I'm gonna miss most of it. Well, he said there was a fuck up on the guide for it, because they had like episode 1 of 1 for the first one.
The storm breaks.
And they had and 3 of 3 for the third one, and 4 of 4. So they had the guide all fuck up, which is hardly a unique thing.
Your flaws are revealed. That ability is not yet recharged.
And so I looked for it now. I looked it up, and it's not anywhere I can watch it free on Roku, but it is on YouTube. And it's if you basically go to YouTube and search, and this might be the whole thing. When I first saw it, I thought it was maybe 2 episodes, but I think it's the whole thing. But just type in Buried Knights Templar, and it should bring it up. The one I'm watching is just short of 3 hours. I think it's all 4. Yeah, they're saying chapter 2 on here. But if I'm not mistaken, this thing's almost 3 hours long, so I think it's all 4 episodes with the commercials removed. But it's not bad. It's literally not bad. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about this, and I'm going to be blending it in with the UFO thing, or at least some of the stuff that's not necessarily UFOs per se. Because when I've seen parts of this before. If I haven't seen the whole thing, I've seen parts of it before, maybe last year, a couple of years ago, or maybe 5-10 years ago. But watching it now in regards to some of the documentaries that I've recently seen, if I can keep it together and stay focused, I got some interesting, at least to me, you know, again, I do the best I can. You know, my streams are not like dipped in gold or anything. I know they're not that good, but I will be speculating combined with some of the other stuff that I've recently watched, and again, I don't know. I don't think anybody honestly does.
I need to go back.
Well, I hope everybody had a good Labor Day. I sincerely mean that. Except for the people that fucked me over. I hope they fucking withered and died.
The storm breaks.
Yeah, I hope you and your families wither and die. And I'm sort of half joking. Oh my God, the one game I play, Ebony, that one there, somebody put up the entire lyrics to Snuff the other day by Slipknot. That is, and I don't really, well, honestly, I haven't heard a lot, but I don't really listen to a lot of their music. But that Snuff, that's not just my favorite Slipknot song. That's like one of my favorite, I'd say that's top 5 for my feel bad songs. Like if you're in a shitty mood and you want to listen to music that reflect it, because I hear them say the only way out is through. Well, every now and then, it don't happen that much anymore, but every now and then, used to happen a lot. But every now and then, I'll just put on like a playlist of that shit. And you just get really sad or really angry or really melancholy, and you get it out of your system. You know, hate metal, sad metal, you know, revenge metal. That, you know, you kind of get it out of your system, and then you are just a much better person afterwards. Nobody guessed it, but I didn't understand this, but again, it might be a thing where, because and again, it's a good group. The last one I had, I really didn't mind, but they just weren't that active. Like I would constantly be trying to build like an alliance flag, and I'd let everyone know, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it every day or every week until we get one, and I was getting closer. Like when I first started doing it, and because I was the only one, nobody else was fucking hell. I put everything. I put my best troops into building it. I put my best general into doing it, and it would always tell me, like, it started out where it was like 7 or 8 days, and you have I think you got 70. I think you got 3 days. It's either 3 days or 1 day. And that's how long you got to build it. Well, it was telling me I needed 7 days. So I'm like, okay, I ain't going to build it. I finally got it down to where I was, I think, either approaching the 3-day or I was just barely under the 3 days. So I was, I basically cut it in half. And all I need to do is get it down to 1 day. And so as soon as I increased my troop strength enough to where it took 2 less days, I would have had it. Not once. Out of the like 50 times, not once did somebody send some fucking troops to help me out. Never. And, not once did anybody move there. Well, one guy did, I think, for a little bit. He moved his castle next to me. but he never sent any troops to help me out. And then after a while, his castle disappeared. Like, thanks for the help. And or if he did, I didn't notice it, which is entirely possible, I guess. And like, I moved next to the fucking head of our alliance, and she moved away, and I was the head of the alliance, and I didn't want the job. Enough people fucking left, and then I got bumped up to the top spot. Well, I handed that shit off because I just don't. I'm not active enough. You know, I think somebody a little more clear-headed should be doing it. I mean, even on like a really low team like mine. But
A most thrilling battle.
And the weird thing is, this just happened, like, I think it happened right before the weekend. Somebody higher ranking, like, I was not the highest ranking person. I don't think the leader of it was either, but I was not the highest ranking person in the old alliance, but I was close. I was up there. Well, I got attacked by one of the fucking heavyweights where I was out mining. I was out gathering resources. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do to you? And then I'm like, well, why the hell would somebody attack me? Because there's generally a rule in the server that we're on. You don't attack people that are in an alliance. People that are not in an alliance, they're fair game. But the ones that are in an alliance are supposed to be, because basically the people that run our server, and I think it's great. They want everybody to build. They want the server working together so that when the server wars come, we're winners. And they know that's easier than if we're bickering amongst each other. You know, a house divided cannot stand. You know, it will fall. You know, the lone wolf dies, the wolf pack survives. That's their mentality, and I think it's great. And, oh, they're shielding. And I just couldn't figure out, one of the guys in my new alliance, and when I posted, I go, look, I don't understand. And then I go, I'm not 100% sure because I get lightheaded, but I go, I think this is my old alliance. And he let me know. He goes, yeah, after the server war, I'll go pay him a little visit. So I'm like, okay, good deal. Because the guy that attacked me, he's like 8 or 10 levels above me. He's not 8 or 10 levels above some of the people in my alliance, and so yeah, that'll be a good thing. Ooh, what do we got here? Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but my brother, he didn't get to go to dialysis today or Saturday, and he apparently lost his state-funded insurance coverage, and I don't know the story to this. I don't, and when it all comes out, I don't know if I'll say too much about it one way or the other. And you know, I might just mention, well, he's back, or he got officially denied. But he went through the renewal process, and he does everything on speakerphone. So if you're in the area, you can kind of hear it. I'm not gonna lie, there was nothing that I heard that raised any red flags. Everything sounded good. So you know, I sincerely hope. So he didn't have his food. He's so far hasn't gotten his food stamps, but that could just be running late. It sounds like his federal stuff is okay, because that was the part that was confusing for me, because his ride didn't show up, and when he called, they told him his insurance was gone. So he called to cancel his dialysis appointment. And I'm thinking, well, if his insurance is canceled, I'm thinking, yeah, the ride company must be fucked up on this, because if he's still got his insurance, you know, the insurance is kind of a universal thing. If he's got insurance here, then he should have it everywhere. And they didn't act like he had an insurance problem. They're just like, oh, well, you know, we hope you get it figured out, and so on and so forth. And I don't know. And I gotta be honest with you, like, I don't have the appointments. I'm not going 3 times a week for dialysis. But when I go to mine, I would prefer to have the drivers, because I don't know today if I'm going to be able to drive tomorrow. Like, even one day away. You've got to make appointments like a week ahead of time for your ride, a couple days or a week ahead of time. And I honestly don't know from one day to the next if I'm going to feel safe to drive. So I would, you know, if it's something that, you know, like my groceries and that, if, you know, I've had a lot of days like this where I want to go get groceries, or I need to go get groceries. I always try to go like ahead of time. I try not to wait till last minute for anything, because I never know ahead of time if I'm going to be able to drive. Well, I might be planning on going to like the grocery store today, and then when it comes, I don't feel like driving. I always try to have something, sandwich meat, or something, so if I don't feel like cooking, there's always something that I can either heat up or eat cold.
I need spirit.
Like throw it in the microwave so I don't have to cook. Because there's days I don't feel like cooking. I just don't think I'm able to. And the other thing is, like, yesterday I cooked lunch, and by supper time I wasn't feeling great, so my brother, you know, cooked supper. And but so it sounds like if he could get to the fucking appointment, he'd be okay. He just lost his ability to get a ride for it. Well, and I kind of let him know. I go, look, if you don't get where you can go to your dialysis, you might end up in the fucking emergency room. And he's in fucking, as far as I can tell, he's in denial on this. He really is. He's making up stories that don't make any sense for his facts, because he had something wrong with his legs when he first came out. This is back when I was still in. And my dad had swollen legs. I know because he doesn't tell us it. And so you never know how much truth is going on when he's talking about what he's doing. Just don't know. And but he you know, my dad had these swollen legs. Well, he had to go in like once a week or every other week, and they drained his legs. And for him, it was his heart. There was something wrong with his heart. Well, my understanding is they're just doing dialysis. And he ended up in the emergency room. This is another thing that he seemed, because I heard him talking, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, to a friend of his from the nursing home he was in. And he isn't telling her the truth on stuff that I know to be true. And
need to go back.
he was making up this whole story about his lymph nodes or some other bullshit. And it could be true, but here's the fact. And I kind of sent her an email to kind of let her know. I go, look, I warned him because he was telling her a whole bunch of shit that wasn't true, and then she jumped my ass the one day when she called and he was talking to her like while I was there. And she jumped my ass about not letting him on the internet. Well, and I told him when it was over, I go, that better be the last fucking time you're telling somebody, anybody fucking lies about me. And he's like, I'll talk to her. And it's like, well, why'd you fucking do it? He knows damn well why he wasn't on the internet. He was running some kind of a fucking server for something that, for all I know, might have been illegal on his phone. And he was maxing out the upload bandwidth. I'd be watching TV like, or something like I'm doing now, but it'd be on my TV, and I'd be watching something on YouTube, and the video would be going. The video would actually be going. And I'd get these messages on my TV that it wasn't connected to the internet as the video was playing off the internet. Well, what he was doing, he was maxing out the upload speeds, and my TV could not get a fucking packet request out. Once the packet request made it, he wasn't maxing out the download capabilities. So when my packet request would finally get out, it would start downloading the next group of packets. So I was able to watch TV. Very rarely did it ever, but it's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? And when I finally asked him about it, because I let him know, I go, look, I don't know what you're doing. He goes, well, I don't really know. It'll take me a while to figure out. And I told him, I go, here's the thing. I go, I'm done. I go, I spent 3 days troubleshooting my crappy computer and all this other bullshit, trying to figure out what I could do to make it better. And then I find out that you're fucking around. And I go, and you're acting like you don't fucking know what it is. And I go, I don't care if you do or not. I go, you can have all the time you want to fix it, but I go, you only got a few more days to knock it off. Because I go, if you keep doing this shit, I go, I'm just going to cut you out of the fucking internet. You won't have it. And he didn't fucking listen. And it did sort of, have an effect a little bit with the TV, because when I had to start paying for the TV again, I let him know, I go, I'm not putting up with your bullshit. I go, I have informed you what I expect you to do, and if you don't do it and it causes problems, I go, you're going to lose your TV privileges just like you lost your internet. I don't fucking care. I go, I'm not going to sit there and argue with you like you're a fucking 4-year-old. I will just take away your ability to watch the TV in here. And then I go, you can watch whatever you want with rabbit ears, but I told him, I go, the TV you got in the kitchen, you can't hook an antenna up to. So I go, you might have to just put movies in or something. But I go, and I told him, I go, this is your first and last warning. And he's actually been pretty good. He seemed to take that to heart. And so I don't know. I literally don't know. And but I let her know about that, and I let her know about some of the other stuff, like, because he basically accused me of being the reason why his debit card quit working, because he was ordering groceries from me when I broke my leg, because I couldn't get around it. And the thing is, I paid him 100%. There was never a deal like what he did to me, where he's like, oh, I gotta pay my taxes. Can I borrow some money? And I'm like, oh, no. And I go, it's not due until October. So then when he figured that out, he's like, oh, okay. He thought it had to be done by the end of July. But I'm like, no. And he's done it where we've gone to the grocery store and I have to give him money because his card wasn't working, and a lot of that goes back to when he bought that phone he couldn't. And I let her know. I go, yeah. I go, I gave him every penny that I owed him. I go, I took him to the bank twice so he could put it.
I must wait longer.
I told her, I go, I gave him every penny I owed him, and I go, I took him to the bank twice so that he could put it in. And I go, and we were starting to go to the grocery store there, so he wasn't having to order shit for me anymore, And I go, that all happened before his card deactivated. And I go, I don't understand But I go, I don't understand how that's my fault. I go, I just don't get that. And I go, but I go, that's the story he was telling, and I go, I just don't see how that's my fault. Because I go, one way or another, whether he spent it on fast food or he bought shit that he shouldn't have. I go, reason why his card deactivated had nothing to do with me at all. And I told her, I go, I'm getting a little sick of being blamed for either life that neither one of us control or his fucking stupid decisions. I go, I am seriously getting sick of that. And then I let her know about him buying that phone he couldn't afford, and I go, he was not able to meet his duties. I go, he couldn't pay for his share of the cat food, and I go, there's other stuff that he's supposed to be paying his fair share on, and he's not. He hasn't done it. And now he's got this, and I go, you know, and then I told her, I go, this whole shit that he's talking about his legs and his lymph nodes and everything like that. I go, look, I go, I'm not a medical expert, but I go, neither is he. But I go, the shit he's saying doesn't make any sense, because I go, he had these swollen legs. I go, you didn't see him like this. This is before he got over there, because I go, they started the dialysis when he got to the hospital. Or passed out. I think technically he was in a coma for a few weeks, because he, I disconnected from the leaderboard. Thanks, Diablo. Really good job. Good job, Blizzard. But, he, and I go, his legs, I go, he looked like Fat Bastard from the Austin Powers. And I go, I'm not really exaggerating. I go, his foot was all swollen like that. His legs were all swollen. And I go, they did not do anything like they did for Dad, where they went in and drained his legs. That happened with my dad. They would basically do something to his legs to get them to drain. They never hooked my dad up for dialysis. And he had to go in, you know, every couple weeks, once a month, something like that. They'd drain him, and they were taking a fair amount of fluid out of his legs. That was because of his heart failure. And,
That is what I have trained for.
but I go, all they did to him was dialysis. And so I go, whether he wants to call it lymph nodes or fucking tell us the truth or whatever the fuck it is, whatever they were doing to make his leg shrink, because I go, once they put him on dialysis, his leg shrank down to more normal size. And I go, at the ER, they never told me that they were doing something to his lymph nodes or his legs. They basically said that his problems were sepsis and kidney failure. And I go, all they did, and I go, it sounds like all they did at the nursing home and all they've done since he came back is his dialysis. So I go, regardless of what you want to call it, it's coming out through his blood. And I go, they do this dialysis, they take all this fluid out of his system, and his legs are not swollen anymore. So I go, you know, and I go, if it's in his blood, and I go, that's what it appears to be. It's in his blood. And I go, when they don't do the dialysis, it's going to back up into his system and everything else. And I go, I'm not an expert, but I go, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out what happens when you've got too many toxins in your body. I didn't tell this to her, but it's like, I watched this with my uncle. He needed a pacemaker, and he had two doctors arguing. One was a surgeon and one wasn't. Well, the guy who wasn't the surgeon wanted to treat it with drugs. And my uncle, like most normal people, did not want surgery. So he opted for the non-surgical method. Well, shit, we went over to visit him the one day after he got out of the hospital from the from the treatment, because he had collapsed or something like that, and they figured that it was his heart malfunctioning. Well, all those drugs they gave him to regulate his heart, his kidneys couldn't process them. So he filled up with toxins. And when we got over there, he was like shut down, exactly like my brother was before they took him to the ER. It was the exact same thing. He was not responsive, and it took weeks. It fucking took weeks. And, you know, again, I don't care if it's lymph nodes or whatever the fuck it is. It was a buildup of toxins in his body, or at least it was acting like it. You know, and like when he was in a coma, when he wasn't being responsive, or whatever you want to fucking call it, they had to talk to us because he wasn't talking. And I want to say it took a week or more before he got better. And, they never said anything about his lymph nodes or all this other bullshit. What they were talking about was his kidneys.
It is not ready yet.
And the
I need spirit. I cannot do that.
okay, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. But what I'm gonna do is cool game settings, adventure. We're gonna go back to Act 1. I am gonna try it at least at the lower levels at Torment 3 for next time. And but I'm just gonna finish the story and then I'll end the stream since I had to cancel. But the other thing he didn't tell her, he's going on about his lymph nodes. What they told us at the emergency room is that I think it was flies, but he had some kind of an insect that had laid its eggs in his legs. And this could have been the buildup of toxicity in his blood, whether it's lymph nodes or something else. You know, he might be right and just not grasping what was really going on. I don't know. And it could have been because of all the pain meds. Because I got a feeling that if he wouldn't have been on so much dope, maybe he would have felt the fucking egg sac or whatever that was hatching in his leg. And he could have told him because he had something wrong. And I think this was his lymph nodes. And they would burst. And then when they burst, he would have to treat his legs. Well, he had gone, because me and my mom were talking about this after he ended up in the nursing home or while he was in the hospital. Because he was in the hospital for several weeks before they sent him to the nursing home. But me and her talked about this. He had gone to the hospital or the clinic once or twice a week for a couple weeks to get his leg cleaned up. It was that bad. And we were like, well, they didn't notice this infestation or whatever. Apparently they didn't notice it while they were cleaning his legs. And the gist that we were getting from the emergency room was that it had been there for a little bit. This was not something that cropped up after he got into the emergency room or right before he got into the emergency room. It sounded like it was something that had been going on for a while. And apparently the people cleaning his legs, and my mom was all mad about it. And I go, well, look at his legs. They don't look like skin anymore. They're better now, but he's still got this thing where the skin on his legs from like the knee down to like the ankle, it looks like elephant skin. It's all gray and dry and scaly. It does not look like human skin. It don't. And I don't know, my understanding is he's supposed to massage him and do all this other shit. Well, he doesn't do it. And I don't know. But, you know, I don't know it. And, you know, but that's, you know, some of the problem he's got. But I let her know, I go, you know, and I go, he appears to have had a drug problem. Because I go, when he came home before we knew his wife had ditched him, we were under the impression that he was there to help and he'd be going home while my mom wanted him to go home because she was tired of him sleeping on the couch all day. And when I talked to his wife about picking him up, or we would just drop him off for her, 'cause she seemed to be playing games. But again, we didn't know it was over. Nobody told us. And I go, I told her, I go, hey, look, I don't know what's going on, but I go, when I'm home visiting, he's acting like a drug addict. And I go, so you should really look at getting him into rehab when he gets home with you. And she told me flat out, she goes, he doesn't want to do rehab. So this is something, this is probably one of many reasons why she looked at getting rid of his ass. Because he just wanted to lay around, watch TV, and do pain pills all day. And she didn't really want that, I guess. She like us, she had, I experienced it firsthand. I do this a little, and my sister was the same way, not nearly as bad, but in different areas. But you'd tell him to do something, and he wouldn't fucking do it. And, me cutting him off the internet, I think actually helped, because when I threatened him a couple times, or hey, you've got to change your behavior, you're not watching my TV anymore. I'm paying for it, and I'll take it away from if you keep throwing these fucking temper tantrums and all this other bullshit you do. And I also think that might be an indication he's back on some of the pain meds, because he wasn't like this when he first got home. And now he's doing the temper tantrums again. He's been pretty good ever since I threatened, because he knows I'll do it. I've told him how to behave on the TV, and he seems to be, getting a little better at it. Because I told him, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to treat you like a 4-year-old if you want to keep fucking up or whatever. You're just not going to have a TV. And I go, it's not going to be a temporary thing. It'll be just done. And so he seems to have been growing up a little bit on some of that. But see, he wouldn't do that for his wife, because we heard about all these complaints she had for him. He told us about a lot of them. And her family even tried to help. And he just wouldn't fucking listen. And I didn't tell her that, but that I let her know. I go, yeah, she seemed to know about his drug problem. She said he didn't want to go to rehab. And then I told her that, there was this Facebook group he fucking volunteered me for. I didn't sign up for it. And I go, the whole thing was being run by somebody from the former military guy. And I go, the whole thing was telling you how to manipulate the system so you could get your pain meds. And I go, they were telling you how to deal with the side effects with over-the-counter stuff. And I go, when he ended up in the hospital before he came over to you, I go, again, his legs were coming down because of the dialysis. Regardless of whatever else he wants to tell you, the dialysis is what did it. And the dialysis, all it does is take toxins out of your blood. That's all it does. It's not some magical miracle cure for the fucking lymphatic system. And, but I go, when he got into his room, I go, I go, if he wouldn't have been as weak as he was, he would have been a lot more violent. But I go, he noticeably got violent compared to what he was when I started explaining to the nurse that, he had a problem with these pain meds, which probably led to a lot of his problems, and that he was taking, I go, just so you know, I go, I don't know what he's on here, but I go, he was taking like over-the-counter laxatives and stool softeners. He went and bought them like every fucking month, and he was on those to counteract the problems with his intestinal tract, because I go, he told me that when I think it was even before I came home, that all the pain meds he was on had put his digestive tract to sleep. So he had to take the laxatives and the stool softener so he could poop, because his intestinal tract wasn't working. And I go, he wanted me, because I go, they need to know what's wrong with him if they're going to help him. And he got violent. He wanted me thrown out of the room, so I was done. I wasn't going to go visit him, or I was done with his bullshit. If he dies, he dies, And it's kind of the same thing now, on some level, he's family, but, it's like with my sister, at a certain point, dealing with their bullshit, I'm done. I'm just done with it. Well, the thing with him is, The only thing I wish is if he wants to die, go out in the field somewhere and take a handful of your fucking pills and get it over with. Don't fucking make me the victim of it. And, but I told her, I go, I got a hold of the hospital and I told them everything I'm kind of telling you now. And I go, according to my sister, it really seemed like they cut him off the pain meds at the hospital here. And I go, it sounds like he was off them over at the nursing home. And I go, he had sent my sister a text saying he couldn't wait to get back home so he could get back on the good drugs. And so hey, it is what it is. And then when he got home, we were told by the nursing home when they were asking permission to send him back, and it sounds like, because again, he does everything on speakerphone. It sounds like when he was calling the hospital, they were under the impression that he was given like either 6 weeks or 3 months worth of meds. I don't remember what it is, but he was given a significant amount of medication to come home. And we were also told that he would not need to go to the hospital, and nobody would have to drive him. He would not need to be driven to the pharmacy because he would be able to get everything done by mail order, and he would be able to get rides. And, so that's what we were told. And the first thing he did when he found out my mom had to go to a pharmacist to get her stuff, he's just like, and we were under the impression he was not going to be a burden to my mom because she was basically, they didn't know it yet, but they'd already found her pancreatic cancer. And as soon as he found she was going to CVS, he's like, oh, and he ran in, he gets on the phone, he goes, let me call Walgreens. And, he was going to, and she just looked at me because we were guaranteed that he wasn't going to go back to doing this shit where he expected her to step and fetch for every little thing he needed. And she looked at me and she goes, let's go. And she I guess told him when he was still at the nursing home, I can't take care of you like I used to. I just can't. And he didn't fucking get it. He got home and thought it was going to be all back to fucking using mom as a slave to fucking step and fetch for everything he needed. Well, she left him. That was one I'd been trying to get her to do that for a couple of years before he ended up in there. We'd be ready to go, and he'd be fucking around, and I'm like, well, just fucking leave him. I go, if you leave him at the store or if you leave him at home, just once, he'll probably get his shit together, and he won't do it again. But she never wanted to do it. Well, she didn't have a choice. And she's like, let's just leave him. And, well, what he found was none of his old prescriptions worked. Now, I don't know if he threw out his meds or if he just said he didn't have them. But he tried to get all his old pain meds and everything else reactivated. And then I heard him on the phone with whoever he was talking to from the clinic or the hospital. And they're like, well, our understanding is you have a, like however long a supply. Oh, no, they sent me with like a week. They sent me with, and I told her all of this. And I go, that didn't seem to work out for him. I go, we were told he had a supply. It sounds like the hospital was told he had a supply. And I go, he was starting this whole game up where he thought he was, and I go, I don't know if he's back on the pain meds or not. But I go, he's had a problem. And I go, regardless, and I go, I've kind of told him this. And I go, he's in denial. I kind of let him know that the anger stage is not going to be tolerated. So he's really trying to, because I go, he doesn't want to get his TV turned off, and for good, like the internet. But I go, he's still in denial. He hasn't gotten to acceptance and moving on. But I go, I told him that the main reason why his kidneys probably failed is from the pain meds. He was using them more than he needed them. He was on them for as long as he could get. He should have been off of them probably several years before he ended up coming home. And, but I go, he doesn't want to accept it. He tried to give me, I go, same thing he's doing to you. He tried to give me this whole story about a congenital condition or his lymph nodes or whatever the fuck else is going on. And I go, well, even if that's true, I go, it probably would have never happened if you didn't have the pain meds. I go, they were a significant contributing factor to, and he's like, well, can't really argue with that. And I told her about some of the other shit that he did here. And I go, maybe having somebody listen to him when he's lying through his fucking teeth or in denial, maybe that helps him. I go, I just don't see how being ignorant of the facts helps a person out. I just don't fucking get it. And but I told her, I go, I don't want to get blamed for his bullshit. I go, this 99.9. I didn't word it this way, but like I've told him this before. About 99.9% of the time when he's mad about something, it's something he did wrong. It's something he fucked up or should have done differently or should have done smarter. And I don't really need to be the whipping boy for that. I really don't. So, but I just sort of, and again, whether she wants to believe me or not, I don't really care. But I kind of warned him, quit fucking lying about me to other people because I really don't need that bullshit. I really don't. Well, anyways, peace out. I will try to come. I'm gonna finish watching this thing on the Templars. I'm gonna at least get some of it done. Might not watch the whole thing, but then I'll come back with Minecraft. If I still feel like I do now, I'm gonna come back with Minecraft a little bit and try and piece this together with some of the other stuff that I watched. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a really good day.